Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump pledged to double bilateral trade between both nations to $500 billion by 2030, agreed to negotiate the first segment of the trade agreement by the autumn of 2025. President Trump announces that the United States would increase military sales to India starting 2025, also slips in an offer to supply F-35 fighter jets, but Foreign Secretary tells CNBC-TV18 that no formal acquisition process for F-35 jets has been initiated yet. The India-U.S. joint statement does not mention the aircraft either. The US president stopped short of imposing reciprocal tariffs for now. US Commerce Secretary to study the issue and submit a report by the 1st of April. Trump reiterates that India has one of the highest tariffs in the world, bats for a level playing field, while welcoming India's recent measures to lower tariffs. In a bid to bridge the trade deficit, India offers to buy more energy from the US. Washington hopes to become the leading supplier of oil and gas. India's Foreign Secretary hints energy purchases could nearly double to $25 billion in the near future. Sensex and Nifty declined for the 8th day in a row, making this the longest losing streak in 2 years. Nifty drops below 23,000. The day's drop means equities have posted their largest weekly loss in 2 months. 26 lakh crore rupees in investors' wealth has been wiped out in the last 5 sessions. India can become our largest market, says Cameron Adams, the co-founder of online design platform Canva. Bets big on localization and launches the platform in Hindi. That's an exclusive. Reserve Bank of India imposes restrictions on Mumbai-based New India Cooperative Bank following concerns about its financial position, bars the bank from granting loans, accepting deposits or allowing withdrawals for 6 months. The move sparks panic among the bank's customers. RBI says eligible depositors can claim deposit insurance up to 5 lakh rupees.
जब अमेरिका और भारत साथ मिलकर काम करते हैं, यानी मागा प्लस मीगा, तब बन जाता है मेगा पार्टनरशिप for prosperity.
Mr. President, you spoke about Prime Minister Modi as a tough negotiator. Who was a tougher negotiator today and who has a better negotiating tactic when it comes to tariffs?
Oh, he's a much tougher negotiator than me, and he's a much better negotiator than me. There's not even a contest. Okay?
A handshake, a hug, and a $500 billion hope. Prime Minister Modi's United States trip to meet President Donald Trump lays down a blueprint for both nations to boost their bilateral trade, with India vowing to cut down on the high trade deficit by hiking their energy imports from the United States. The two leaders met at the White House hours after President Trump pledged to impose reciprocal tariffs against nations who impose high tariffs on American imports, but stopped short of enacting it. Instead, he signed an order that mandates that his administration submit a report by the 1st of April. Trump also urged India to reduce tariffs and batted for a level playing field, while also welcoming recent measures by India to lower tariffs. Trump's nudge notwithstanding, the personal chemistry between the two leaders was palpable during the bilaterals. Later, at the presser, President Trump said United States would be boosting their military sales to India, including those of F-35 jets. However, the Indian government said that no formal process on acquiring F-35 jets have been initiated yet. Prime Minister Modi, meanwhile, said that both nations would work towards signing an agreement that helps them double bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030.
ये बहुत ही सुखद संयोग है.
Great honor to have Prime Minister Modi. Congratulations on having done a great job. India imposes a 30 to 40 to 60 and even 70% tariff on so many of the goods, and in some cases far more than that. And as an example, a 70% tariff on U.S. cars going into India, which makes it pretty much impossible to sell those cars. India's been, to us, just about the highest tariffed nation anywhere in the world. They've been very strong on tariffs, and I don't blame them necessarily, but it's a different way of doing business. It's very hard to sell into India because they have trade barriers, very strong tariffs.
आज हमने द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को 2030 तक 2 गुना से भी अधिक बढ़ाकर $500 बिलियन तक पहुंचाने का लक्ष्य निर्धारित किया है. हमारी टीमें एक पारस्परिक लाभकारी ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट को शीघ्र संपन्न करने पर काम करेगी.
Today, the Prime Minister and I are announcing a framework to strengthen those ties even further economically, and the U.S.-India Compact for the 21st century is a historic initiative that will deepen every aspect of our partnership and our friendship. Starting this year, we'll be increasing military sales to India by many billions of dollars. We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters.
I don't think with regard to the acquisition of an advanced aviation platform by India, that process has started as yet. So this is currently something that's at the stage of a proposal, but I don't think the formal process in this regard has started as yet.
And we want, we want a certain level playing field, which we really think we're entitled to. And he does also, in fairness. So we're going to work on that very hard, and we can make up the difference very easily with the deficit, with the sale of oil and gas, LNG, of which we have more than anybody in the world.
We are a significant purchaser of U.S. energy in any case. I think last year we purchased about $15 billion in U.S. energy output. There is a good chance that this figure will go up to as much as $25 billion in the near future. And so therefore we are a significant producer. It is entirely possible that these increased energy purchases will contribute to impacting the deficit between the two countries.
A lot of important announcements there from the leaders of India and the United States. Parikshit Luthra joins us from Washington, D.C. Parikshit, trade, tariffs, defense ties, both nations have pledged to turn the page on a host of important issues.
Yes, the big headline on trade is that both countries have agreed to sign the first tranche of a mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trading agreement by the fall of 2025. What's the low-hanging fruit that Donald Trump was looking for in order to reduce the trade deficit of $35 to $40 billion? One is defense. The joint statement outlines how India could procure 6 additional P-8I maritime patrol aircraft from the US, how we could expand sales and co-production of defense systems such as the Javelin anti-tank missile and the Striker system as well. There is also going to be negotiations on reciprocal defense procurement, and US has also announced a review of its policy on releasing 5th generation fighters and undersea systems. Trump said that eventually the defense talks are going to lead to F-35 sales to India, but the Foreign Secretary said not yet. A lot of formal steps have to be taken before any process is also initiated for buying or acquiring fighter jets of that kind, and none of that has already happened. Energy was a big one, with the Foreign Secretary saying that if energy imports from the US were to the tune of $15 billion last year in 2024. Very soon, it could even touch $25 billion.
Right, thank you for that, Parikshit. Well, Parikshit has also been catching up with key industry representatives, senior journalists, to get a sense of Trump's tariff playbook. Here's what they had to say.
You know, I think as much as India might put on the table in preparation for the joint statement today, India still has relatively high customs duties and also a lot of other barriers to trade. The quality control orders, some of the price controls that have been adopted. So something tells me India is not going to avoid altogether getting hit by this global tariff war.
Whether India agrees to lower its tariffs or, you know, there is a retaliatory kind of action, that all will depend on how the negotiation goes. I mean, at this point, I would imagine that all options are open. And if the you know, one possibility is that U.S. gives us some good market access and we give U.S. good market access. This is a win-win. In this case, we are lowering our tariffs on the U.S. goods, and U.S. is lowering some of the tariffs on what we export to the U.S. That's a win-win.
I think he has been talking about it for some time, and he decided that today is a schedule to sign it. It's not targeted towards India or any specific countries. It's targeted to everybody. If you are charging 5% tariff on my goods, I will charge you 5%. If you're charging 50%, I will charge you 50%. So I think this was a way to basically negotiate with other countries and bring equality to the whole tariff system.
A lot of folks on Wall Street were expecting immediate tariffs today, and what we learned earlier in the day on Thursday was that, in fact, no, this is not an immediate implementation of tariffs. What this is a study to figure out how to do these tariffs with every country around the world. They're issuing the study. That'll be completed by April 1st, and then by April 2nd, they say they'll be in position to actually implement tariffs that execute on that date. We'll see, though. My expectation is what this tees up is a massive negotiation around the world as every country comes to the West Wing to try to work out trade deals individually, one-on-one. What Donald Trump wants is to be the deal maker in chief, and this is his opportunity to go country by country and cut a new set of deals. This gives him a lot of wiggle room in terms of those negotiations, but it also means that tariffs are not coming in place today as we stand here now, which was something that Wall Street was frankly concerned about.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi insisted that he did not discuss the bribery charges leveled against billionaire Gautam Adani by the U.S. government during his meeting with the U.S. President Donald Trump. Calling the case an individual or personal matter, the Prime Minister said that two prominent leaders don't meet to discuss such issues.
Can I ask whether you discussed at all today the case of Gautam Adani, who's one of the wealthiest men in Asia and perceived as an ally of Prime Minister Modi? Prime Minister Modi, have you asked the President to take action on that case? Thank you.
पहली बात है, भारत एक लोकतांत्रिक देश है और हमारे संस्कार, हमारी संस्कृति वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की है। हम पूरे विश्व को अपना एक परिवार मानते हैं। हर भारतीय को मैं अपना मानता हूं। दूसरी बात है, ऐसे व्यक्तिगत मामलों के लिए दो देश के मुखिया न मिलते हैं, न बैठते हैं, न बात करते हैं।
Prime Minister Modi also met tech billionaire Elon Musk and his family at the Blair House in Washington, D.C. In a post on X, PM Modi said he was delighted to meet Elon Musk and his family. He added that they discussed a wide range of subjects, including space, mobility, tech and innovation. Prime Minister Modi also spoke about India's efforts towards reform and furthering minimum government, maximum governance. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump reacted to the meeting between Musk and PM Modi, and he added that he assumes Musk wants to do business in India.
They met, and I assume he wants to do business in India. But India is a very hard place to do business in because of the tariffs. They have the highest tariffs just about in the world, and it's a hard place to do business. No, I would imagine he met possibly because, you know, he's running a company. He's doing this as a as something that he's felt strongly about for a long time, because he sees what's happening and he sees how the country is really being hurt badly by all of the fraud, waste, and abuse. Yeah.
All right, on that note, it's time for a short break, but more news and updates continue right here. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The sell-off continues on Dalal Street. Sensex and Nifty declined for the 8th straight session, marking the longest losing streak in 2 years. Nifty has dropped below 23,000 mark. Sensex down below the 76,000 level. All sectoral indices ended in the red this week. 26 lakh crore rupees in investor wealth has been wiped out in the last 5 sessions. The sell-off has been particularly brutal for mid-caps and small caps. Nimesh Shah is here with more on the market correction. Nimesh, what's the road ahead?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, there's a brutal sell-off in the broader market stocks. The small mid-cap index is down 7% this week, small-cap index down 9%, and the micro-cap index is down almost 10% this week. So that's the kind of fall we've seen in this week itself. But having said that, from the 52-week highs, look at the kind of carnage we've seen in the broader market names. The mid-cap index is down 17%, small-cap index is down 20%. Micro-cap index is down 20%, and the Nifty Next 50 is down 22%. That's the index fall. So you can imagine the kind of damage you've seen in the individual stocks as well. Even in terms of the margin funding book, that's the sense you get as far as the margin funding is concerned. It's come to 78,000 crores on Feb 7th as well as on Feb 11th. Actually, from the highs of 90,000 crores, it has fallen now to 78,000 crores. So that's the kind of the sentiment is clearly broken now as far as the individual retail investors is concerned. But the big question is the market ignoring some of the positives which have emerged in the last few days? The first being the budget, which was quite positive in terms of rural demand. Now, after that, we saw the first rate cut from the RBI, and even the RBI commentary was quite pro-growth. Additionally, the cutting down the LCR implementations would mean that there is further liquidity into the system. So that was one big positive. The other big concern was the new income tax bill. Thankfully, there was no negative news in that as well. The third was the earnings season. Thankfully, even the earnings season in Q3 was broadly in line and no major negative surprises there. So that's positive. Fourth was the retail participation. Was that got hammered because of the fall? The answer is no. The January data suggests that the SIP flows were still very strong. And the last is the high frequency data. Even that is turning to the positive in the last couple of months. So clearly some of the positives have emerged in the last few weeks. Having said that, even the health of the India Inc. seems to be quite robust and strong. I just looked at the data, and that shows that 50% of the large cap companies are net cash. So that's the kind of data there as well. Now, finally, some opinions which have come this week from some large players. Rhythm Desai of Morgan Stanley believes that the underperformance of India could reverse in the coming months, and he prefers private banks, discretionary consumption, as well as select industrial. So that's the view from Rhythm Desai. Secondly, Amish Shah of Bofa Securities. This is important. The Nifty earnings on Q3 was 7%, which is good. The broader market earnings were also good at 11%. And he believes that the downgrades since January are very, very marginal at the margin. So that's positive as well. However, Chris Wood of Jefferies today put out a note, and he's cut the India weight in the Asia ex-Japan portfolio by 1%, adding 3% to China. So he's kind of a bit cautious on India. Lastly, Venugopal Garg of Bernstein. They have been cautious on the small and mid cap for the last few months now. Now he believes that there could be an overall recovery in the second half, but still there is no reason to bet or do bottom fishing in the small and mid cap. So that's the opinion from Venugopal. But broadly, while there's been a brutal sell-off, there are some positive indicators which seems to be turning around, which could be positive going forward for the markets.
All right, thank you, Nimesh, for that. Moving on to the money markets, the rupee logged its biggest weekly rise against the dollar in 7 months, despite softening marginally today. The 0.7% recovery follows a 0.93% decline in the previous week. This as the Reserve Bank's intervention in the foreign exchange market kept speculators betting against the currency at bay. Oil Minister Hardeep Puri has hinted that India's LNG imports from the US could increase. He was speaking with Shireen Bhan at the India Energy Week.
We have a stated policy of taking it from 6% to 15% in the energy mix. And I think we have a very substantive relationship with the United States, mostly on gas. I see definitely those quantities being addressed for increase.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. More news and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.